In 2007, I came across this segment of The Daily Show, and this is what got me interested in ex-gay programs.
Against Disease continues. Tonight, Jason Jones takes us on a journey to the front lines of modern medicine.
Medical science. It's both medical and science. Yet there are some things even it can't cure. Welcome to The Daily Show's newest segment, Diagnosis Mystery. Growing up, Wayne Besson was your average all-American kid when his life became a nightmare.
All my friends were looking at all the cheerleaders and couldn't get enough of them. And I was looking at the other guys on the basketball team.
But his symptoms didn't go away. When the tests came back, they confirmed his worst fear.
Your friend could be gay.
That's right, gay. The big G. It strikes millions of Americans each year, and someone who, desperate for a cure, Wayne and his family tried everything.
This is a tape my parents bought me when they tried to make me straight.
All right, let's give her a listen.
This program is designed to reorient your sexuality. Having sex with a woman is wonderful for you. Having sex with a woman is an act of being alive. Your penis can become erect when you want it to, and stay erect as long as you would like it to.
Nothing worked. It appeared that he would suffer from gay for the rest of his life. When we come back, is there hope for Wayne? What about reports of a cured, man-hungry evangelical meth user? We'll speak with one doctor who may have the answer.
This and this, it fits. This doesn't work.
Stay tuned for more. Welcome back to the program. Like millions of Americans, Wayne Besson suffered from chronic gay. It was thought to be untreatable, but has one intrepid doctor found a cure?
Homosexuality is not a disease. It's an emotional condition that needs to be addressed.
Meet Dr. Richard Cohen, author of Coming Out Straight and America's foremost gay healer.
People who are living a gay life can choose to change and come out straight.
Thank you for setting the record straight, Doctor.
I'm not a doctor. I'm a certified sexual reorientation coach.
Well, you're a psychiatrist.
No, I'm not.
But you're licensed.
No. Jewish by birth.
Which is good enough to get him on CNN. So just what is the science behind this medical cure?
Natural law brings men and women together. This and this, it fits, right? This doesn't work.
Listen, I'm no expert, but I don't think that's how they do it. Of course he wouldn't know how it works. It's been such a long time.
Mr. Cohen is the founder of the International Healing Foundation. Before getting into the ex-gay therapies, he was part of a church in Washington State that practiced breastfeeding called Skin Time, where they would have the adult women take off their shirts and then the men would breastfeed off of them. He was kicked out of the American Counselors Association a few years ago for inappropriate relations with the client. So that's Mr. Cohen. We'll talk a little bit about him later. Ex-gay programs have been around for about 30 years, but the history behind them goes back to about the 50s and 60s. And there's this interesting mix of culture and politics and science that all plays together. It starts off actually in 1957 with Dr. Evelyn Hooker as researcher at UCLA. Dr. Hooker in 1957 authored a study called Adjustment of the Male Overt Homosexual. What she did in this study is she took 30 gay men and 30 straight men, and she subjected them to a series of psychological tests. And she got all these results, she compiled all the results together. Then she took the results And she took them to a couple of psychologists, and she says, based off of the results, she just handed them the papers with the results. She said, based off of these results, can you tell me which of these men is gay and which of them are straight? Turns out that the doctors couldn't pick even better than chance, or better than chance, which men were gay and which ones were straight. And this is very significant because at this time, almost all the research that's being conducted is showing that homosexuality is some kind of mental illness or some kind of disorder. And the reason for that is that still homosexuality is still a crime in many places. There are not people who are out. There are not people who feel that they can be out safely, because people who do come out or who are caught end up in mental institutions, or where they perform all sorts of psychological experiments. Like this one, 11 years later, after Dr. Hooker's study, there's the electric aversion therapy of sexual deviations, where researchers would hook up gay men to electrodes, and it would shock them in a way to kind of create this aversion to same-sex stimuli. Dr. Hooker's study was significant in that it was one of the first of its kind to basically show that homosexuals, gays, and lesbians are just as normal as everyone else, that there really is no psychological difference. So this starts off this very interesting movement. At the same time, in the 60s and 70s, you have the Jesus movement starting up, which is basically hippies finding Jesus. And they start kind of getting this rock music, and it's the source of this contemporary Christian music that we hear now in evangelical or biblically orthodox churches, where you have people standing up and raising their hands and shouting towards God. And Jesus, in this movement, becomes a very real person. Jesus can effect miracles in your life. Jesus cures alcoholism, drug addiction, sexual deviations, and things like that. And, as we will see, Jesus can also cure homosexuality. So anyway, this is a very typical, very famous picture of the Jesus movement and the Jesus freaks. In June of 1969, we have the Stonewall riots in New York. Cops went into this bar in New York, a famous gay bar, and they busted up the bar and they arrested a lot of the people inside. A couple days later, some of the basically kids who were known as the street kids fought back. They fought back against the cops, and this gives rise to the modern gay rights movement. So this is 1969. In 1973, the first ex-gay ministry is formed. It's called Love in Action. It was begun here in California. It's now based out of Tennessee. But the same year that Love in Action is formed, the American Psychiatric Association declassifies homosexuality as a mental illness. It is reclassified as a sexual orientation disturbance, and the reason for the reclassification was to kind of placate the conservative members of the American Psychiatric Association. But this news, in effect, declared millions of people sane overnight. Then in 1975, we get a book called The Third Sex by Reverend Kent Philpott, who was one of the organizers, one of the founders of Love in Action, that first ex-gay ministry. And what he did is, a couple years after founding the ministry, he decided that he would write a book about the people that he had met. So it includes the six stories of homosexuals who were changed through Christ, this miraculous transformation. This is typical of the Jesus freaks and the Jesus movement, this miraculous transformation. And it started what is the nationwide ex-gay movement. What happened is there were these little groups, little pockets all over the nation that had these little ministries. But once this book was released, ex-gay movements went mainstream. And people started showing up at Love in Action, and they started showing up in the middle of the night with their suitcases in hand saying, "Can you help me?" And then more and more ministries started popping up around the country. The problem with this book is that the stories were actually made up. Four of the people in the book then sued the publisher, and it is no longer available to the public. I found a copy on eBay the other day for $2.